Welcome everyone to the Planned Giving Seminar. I hope you all are excited to be here as we are. Last session of the day, right? So we're all, that's between you and the slot machines out in the lobby, right? Is that how that's gonna go? Anybody having any really good luck so far? If so, I'm happy to hang out with you. I've had none. Well, welcome. We'll go ahead and get started. Again, welcome. We're really truthfully honored and appreciate all of you being here today to take a few moments and, honestly, take some time to think about yourselves and your families and make sure that you're doing that. And then perhaps also consider how you might be able to continue to further DAV's mission moving forward for future generations. So my name's Eddie Rowan. I'm the National Personal Philanthropy Director for DAV. I joined DAV just about a year ago, a little over a year ago. I have a long history, however, in fundraising realm. So I worked for organizations such as St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, and then before joining DAV, the Boy Scouts of America, which is now, some of you may be aware, called Scouting America. I'm actually based at our national headquarters in Erlanger, Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky market. So if there are any Kentuckians or Ohioans in there, you're probably at least my favorite. I don't think Jason would agree, but just wanted to share maybe a few expectations and things that we're going to try to cover for you today. We wanted to cover really, I think, kind of four main areas. We're going to try to do so with a pretty fair amount of content, but hopefully in a way that is distilled so that it makes sense and is a little bit more digestible for everyone. I know one of the large barriers that we see is, when people start thinking about and talking about estate giving and planned giving and these types of things, it could be very overwhelming very quickly. So we want to talk about way and make sure that you understand that, nothing is going to cost you any money and to contribute and do things like that. We're going to think about ways that you can consider about sort of receiving some lifetime income as well. So some just giving different strategies that kind of can help you and your family. And also some ideas for some things for you to consider when creating will or partnership through one of our partners that we work with. And then we'll talk about some tax-wise strategies that can help you continue to give to DAV during your lifetime or via your estate plans. But again, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. We're really grateful to see you all. We wanted to take just really a couple of moments here, just sort of explain our team. We are actually located, we have 5 advisors on what we call our PPP, or Personal Philanthropy Programs team. They're located regionally throughout the country. They work remotely and work directly with individual giving donors. So people, not corporations, that's really what we're focused on. We put the capital P in Personal Philanthropy Programs, is what I like to say. But we assist and work with donors from all over the country. Folks hopefully look familiar here in the room to each of you. But we can help with thinking about strategies for estates. Again, sort of some opportunities for making stock gifts, building a will, real estate beneficiary designations, cash gifts, qualified charitable distributions through such giving platforms or accounts that you might have, like your IRAs, things like that. Our team also works with foundations, and we apply for grants to help fund DAV initiatives and strategies, and so we're really excited to do that. Here's kind of a snapshot, thank you. A snapshot of our team. Hopefully some of these folks look familiar. Perhaps you've heard from or received calls from them, and we would encourage you to sort of reach back. They're real people, so I wanted to show you their faces on the screen. They're not just AI-generated bots or anything. We're fortunate enough to have a few folks of our team here in the room. So Carmen over here is a relatively new member of our team. She's also not new to DAV, been with DAV a long time, worked on our National Service Officer team for many, many years, and is a veteran and has had a lot of great experience. We also have our Assistant Director, Jason Bellin, who will come up here in a little bit and share some additional information. Jason's really our planned giving expert, and so we're going to let him dig in a little bit more detail to some of that stuff for our team. And then Alex Sweezy, who is also on our team and assists with a lot of the planned giving efforts and things as well. So again, estate planning can be a little daunting. Our goal here today is to try to break through some of these barriers and make sure that it's a little bit less scary. We're not going to accomplish that for every single person sort of in the collective today, but the goal is that hopefully you will find some of this information helpful, might kind of give you the opportunity to start thinking about other questions and things that you might have or might want to talk about. And then I would greatly offer the opportunity for our team to reach out to you or to follow up and to help you sort of determine what might be the best for you, your family, and potentially how you can best benefit or continue to benefit DAV as well. So there's a few areas that hopefully these terms look familiar, but a lot of folks are familiar with how to build or make a will or a trust. These are legal documents, of course, that help you sort of determine in advance of passing what you want to do with some of your estate or your homes, different assets and things like that you have. Most people are pretty familiar with that. A charitable remainder trust is an opportunity for you to basically set up a separate account or a bucket that is protected, and you put assets or monies into that account to be distributed to a charitable organization like DAV. They have to be restricted to a charitable organization, but there can be some really great tax advantages to doing that sort of upfront or over time that kind of allow people to give some benefit. Beneficiary designations. This is one that is, I think, in a lot of ways, the easiest way for people to make gifts to charitable organizations, but to just name DAV as a beneficiary of your retirement accounts or things like that, and then upon your passing, there is a great benefit for charitable organizations. And then charitable gift annuities, and we'll dig into this a little bit more deeply, but this is really an opportunity to give, in a lot of cases, a much more significant gift to a charity, or in this case, DAV, but then in return to be able to receive some ongoing lifetime income through your retirement. So there can be some good tax strategies in how to do that and how you might want to shelter and sort of diversify portfolios and sort of reduce your taxable income. Okay, a couple things to keep in mind. Estate gifts cost nothing during someone's lifetime, but they can have a real impact. A lot of people don't think about the assets that they have. It might be a home, car, IRA accounts, et cetera, that they don't necessarily think that they have a lot of wealth. You don't have to be wealthy in order to make an estate gift. In fact, DAV, and I'll mention this here in a moment, but DAV received about 350 estate gifts just this past year alone. So it's really an amazing opportunity to continue to give to an organization that you're passionate about. And so, our team's focus is to really work alongside, and I say that deliberately, work alongside passionate people that are passionate about DAV and the work that DAV does. And so, obviously, those are the folks that are here in the room, right? And so we work with longtime donors and folks that are curious and sort of want to figure out what type of strategies or things that they can do to help continue to benefit DAV, and then might also be able to reap some tax benefit. So 83% of Americans, if they were to be asked, and they were, as it stands, in a relatively recent survey, that estate planning is important. But only 31% of people reported in that same survey to have had a will, and more than 55% of Americans have absolutely zero plan at all, right? It's not just young people, as they're sort of starting to think about these things, it's people of all ages. And so it's important for everyone to know that when you don't have a plan, that those things are decided by a judge. They have to go through probate, and the advantage to doing things, setting up a will and sort of doing these things in advance allows you to help direct that. And so that can be a really great benefit for family members and other folks to, kind of prevent or not generate challenges or things. It allows you to allocate things in a way that is according to you or your family's wishes. And I think, candidly, just sort of the thought or the pre-work of kind of thinking that through a lot of times allows you to have those conversations in advance as well, which I think is really helpful for family members. So again, our hope is to kind of break some of this type of stuff down. We would love for everyone here this week and every one of our donors and people across the country to consider naming DAV as a beneficiary, because it can really have an enormous impact in the operations and the ability for us to attain our mission. So in 1995, I was alive then and graduated from college. Some folks in this room perhaps may not have been. That was a relatively small portion of our revenue at DAV at that time. But as you can see, it has grown to be a very significant portion. $33.4 million just this past year alone, and I said mistakenly before, it's 550 estate gifts last year. And through June of this year, we've already received 260 estate gifts totaling $12.3 million. And I don't say this to sort of be braggadocious, but I think it is and has become a really effective way for people to continue to give back and have a long-lasting impact in DAV's legacy and, candidly, to sort of pay it forward, if you will. Couple of things about, I think, not only planned giving, but just giving to charitable organizations in this country. There's a study that's done on an annual basis from an organization called Giving USA, and they accumulate all of the data for this type of stuff and kind of aggregate everything. And if you're sort of a data dork like me, you get to look at then fun pie charts and go listen to them talk about what are these buckets that are happening. And a lot of people might think that charitable giving comes primarily in this country from corporations or other entities like that, and in fact, it's actually not the case. As you can see here from sort of that biggest bucket, individuals, so direct people, direct gifts, lots of different sort of categories or ways to give, represent about 66% of total giving across the country, okay? And that's just in 2024. Again, 7% from corporations. The other piece that I want you to notice there, though, is the 8% from bequests. And that 8% is actually from individuals, right? It just happens to go through another legal dynamic, and it's sort of tracked in this particular way differently. So if you add up 66 and 8%, my higher math skills say that's 74% of all giving in this country is from individuals, people that are paying it forward and making sure that their missions that they're passionate about are continue to thrive, which I think is pretty interesting. Over the course of time, candidly, the last 40 years, charitable giving has grown in this country pretty considerably. As you can see here, I'm not going to nerd out too much about this, but I just wanted you all to see that $592.5 billion, was given in 2024, which was a record amount of giving in this country. So Americans are unique across the world in that Americans tend to give or do give more than any other country, I believe, on the planet, which is really amazing. Kind of another way to slice and dice this, to look at sort of the differences in the way that people have given or choose to give over the course of the last 40 years. The bucket to your left there sort of shows where things were in 1984 and where they finished out this past year in 2024. You'll see there's some what look to be sort of bigger slices to the pie, right? People are changing, they're diversifying the way that they give. There are new ways to give, different things that are a little bit more popular these days than they were back in those days. But the one thing that I wanted you to just sort of recognize here is that on the left slide there, if you see the kind of the bluish button, it says 6% in human services. DAV lives in the human services bucket. But just look at how much that bucket has grown in the past 40 years. It represented 6% of total giving at that time, and now is 14%. It's now the second largest bucket of giving in this country, and it's actually been pacing pretty consistently ahead of a lot of the other categories there. Interestingly, you also see the biggest bucket there in 1984 was religious organizations. That has actually shrunk to 23% of total giving in 2024 dollars, which is of note and interesting. any of the economic majors in the room are perhaps interested, well, how does this compare to GDP? In effect, it's been pretty consistent. Even with that total dollar amount of giving that has continued to grow, it has remained or been consistent with the amount of GDP as a percentage across the country. So this one here, if you look at the human services bucket, you see those being pretty aggressive in comparison to some of the other categories or sectors across giving. So, something that I think is really interesting and really proud of. And I think just me anecdotally, having worked for a couple of different organizations, for example, I was in the nonprofit healthcare sort of sector for many years of my career. There are sectors that are continuing to grow. Human services, DAV has been one of those that has been remarkable in their growth. And that's because of people like you who continue to pay that work forward, and because of the passion that you have for organizations like this. So I'm going to turn it over now to Jason, who's going to walk you all through some additional slides to kind of get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts. And then Jason will turn it over to Alex to talk through some additional things, and I'll come back up and walk you all through some benefits for stock giving and some other things and wrap us up. Okay? Jason.
Thank you, Eddie. It's great to see everyone today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your service. For our members in the room and the auxiliary members, thank you for being a member of the auxiliary as well. It's certainly great to be in Las Vegas. As Eddie said, my name is Jason Bell, and I'm the Assistant National Director of our Personal Philanthropy Programs. And in September, we'll be celebrating 8 years on staff at DAV. Both of my grandfathers served in the military, one in the Army and one in the Navy. My grandfather, who was in the Navy, was one of the biggest influences in my life, so I consider this an honor to be able to work for DAV and the veterans that we serve, and be able to provide a resource to them, especially when it comes to their philanthropic goals and certainly to their legacy planning goals as well. Everyone that came in the room should have received kind of like a little welcome bag. We want to make sure that everybody did. If you didn't, please raise your hand and we will make sure that you get one. And we also will make sure that everybody has a little card to fill out as well, so that you're eligible for the drawing at the end for a couple of different DAV gift bags, as well as a couple of other treats that we have. But you might have noticed on the outside of each of the bags is a little sticker along with a set of readers. We provided that to everybody with a little bit of inspiration, as well as that you know that you have a commitment from us to be able to help you see things, and whether that is see your goals that you want to achieve, see a clear plan for your legacy and what you want that to be, and see your greatest potential fulfilled through your legacy planning efforts, not only for you, but also for your family. Some of those statistics that Eddie mentioned of 83% of individuals not having or knowing that estate planning is important, but not having a will in place. The other part of the survey to get those statistics also highlighted the fact that peace of mind and also peace of mind that your family is protected or taken care of are the two main leading factors for wanting to create an estate plan. 7% of the respondents said that charitable giving was important in their overall legacy planning efforts. So we want to help make sure that we provide you with the best information possible to be able to make the decisions that you need for you and your family. And why we want to talk about this as well is on the screen you can see this was the largest bequest ever given to DAV and the Charitable Service Trust, and it was $31 million back in 2007. And we certainly know that $31 million gifts do not roll in the door every day, but it was a very unique situation with this particular donor that created a charitable remainder trust that paid her and her family a sum of money during their lifetime. But once they passed away, then 8 additional organizations received that $31 million gift as well. An example to share of today alone as well, we were notified that 3 bequests were processed at our national headquarters in Erlanger today. We haven't had a chance to look up the annual giving of the donors, but one was for $335,000, one was for $665,000, and another one was for $112,000. So with the great wealth transfer that will be taking place over the course of probably the next 20 years, some of the slides that we'll talk about as individual retirement accounts and things like really came popular in the late 70s, early 80s. And so a lot of those individuals are reaching the age where they need to start making withdrawals from their IRAs. They need to be making sure they're assigning their beneficiary designations, and we'll provide tools to make sure that everyone has the best information possible. One of the most, requested resources that we have, and when you do get that card, you'll have the ability to check a box that you would like one of these sent to you, is our record books and our lesson books. So the lesson book shows you the steps to create a plan to protect you and your family. What's best for you is answering a few individual questions about, do I need a will? Do I need a revocable living trust? Are there other things that we want to be able to consider to be able to get that set up? The lesson book, if you did stop by the booth, is very similar to what you might have picked up with Your Valuable Information, where you can put all of the contact information for your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, your home loan information, so that whoever might be serving as your executor has all of that information in one place and is easily accessible. And so the record book and the lesson book are a great way to get started if you're looking to see, like, what is it that I might need to do first. Where you might see or have seen, if you're a DAV member, some information about DAV and our estate planning or legacy planning resources is in the DAV magazine. So every 2 months, there's going to be an article about kind of like an informational topic to be able to provide ideas or information about beneficiary designations, how to get started in creating a will, maybe even stock giving or mutual funds or charitable gift annuities, which Alex is going to talk about later. But one of the main things that we really like to do when a donor notifies us that we have been so fortunate to be named in their estate plans is welcome the donors to the DAV Guardian Society. And that is a collection of supporters who've chosen to keep their promise to America's veterans by making a special gift in their estate plans. It can be a variety of different areas, and it does not matter on the size of the gift. The fact that you have taken the time and the thought to name DAV is something that we want to appreciate and recognize. Some gifts that you'll have the ability to potentially do is a percentage of an estate, a specific dollar amount, remainder of trust, and of course you can do all of this for your family as well. One of the things that we do always try to highlight is protecting yourself, your family, and then if we are so fortunate for you to identify DAV, we're honored for that to take place. Or a residual beneficiary, but a lot of times it is a 5%, 10% for those that you want to support, your children, your grandchildren, whatever it might be. So not only is it important to have those primary beneficiaries assigned for all of your accounts, but also secondary beneficiaries as well. Within the record book and lesson book, there will be sample bequest language provided to you if you do choose to name DAV in your estate plan. So it really is a sentence or two that can be added, and so we have this readily available to you as well. A little bit about, I guess, the retirement plans that had been mentioned as far as that are rising in popularity from a qualified charitable distribution standpoint, and we're seeing more and more gifts being made from that, because when you reach 72 now, the age of 72, you have to start taking a required minimum distribution. And so a lot of individuals are comfortable in the tax bracket that they're currently at. But when they get to their required minimum distribution, it might say, hey, you have to take $20,000 out of your IRA account. Once you do, if you take that directly, you're adding $20,000 in ordinary income to your tax bracket. And so if you're comfortable where you're at, that might put you from a 22% tax to a 27% tax. That 5%, you're probably losing money in that because you're going to be $20,000, $5,000 of that's going to taxes probably at a 25% tax rate. So things to consider, as well as thinking about who you want to inherit some of those funds. IRA accounts, if you are giving them to your heirs, your children, it is a difficult asset to be able to inherit. Not in the sense that they'll probably have a lot of fun spending the money, but they also have to spend it within a certain period of time, 10 years, and that is all taxable income for them as well. They have to report that as ordinary income for IRA accounts. Now, when you start looking at some of the Roth IRAs that individuals might have or be holding, those are great for children to inherit. You've put money into that after taxes already, meaning you don't have to pay taxes when you start taking the money out. nor when your children inherit them do they have to pay taxes on the money that's inherited from them. So we can talk through what are some of those good accounts to inherit, some of the more challenging ones as well. This page is a reminder really as well to continuously keep an eye on your beneficiaries. One thing that we typically like to highlight is that the information that is provided to your financial institution for a beneficiary designation, if different than what's in your will, your financial institution will listen to what you have on their beneficiary designation form. They could care less what is written into your will. So if you have experienced a significant life event, where it comes up the most is a divorce. If you still have an ex-spouse listed as the beneficiary of your IRA account from 10 years ago, but you've updated it in your will with your new spouse, your ex is going to be inheriting that money. So significant life events is a great time to be able to review beneficiary designations and other information related to all of your legacy planning. Russell James, I will say world-renowned expert when it comes to legacy planning and estate planning, professor at Texas Tech University, is saying now that wills are more of a little bit of a secondary rule for estate planning because so much now can be done with beneficiary designations. So again, once you do an inventory of your assets and being able to determine what is best for me and my family from, again, a will, a revocable living trust, or some of the other opportunities for the charitable remainder trust or other things that Eddie had referenced as well. But one tool that we have seen a tremendous amount of progress over the course of the last couple of years is our partnership with FreeWill. And that's freewill.com/DAV, which will allow you to go on and create a legally binding last will and testament for whichever state that you might live in. It personalizes it to your state. It takes all applicable laws and customizes it to, okay, you need to get this notarized and you need 2 witnesses. Or if there are other requirements within a state, it will do that as well. And so the opportunity to utilize FreeWill is something that you would create an account for and be able to log back in and do it over a period of time. I will preface this with saying when you go to the FreeWill site, they like to do some of their own marketing and say that a will can be done in 20 minutes or less. Would not advise that in the least to be able to get it done in 20 minutes or less. This is something that you want to take some time going through and make sure that you're comfortable with it and you have all of the information in there that's needed. It's not a race or anything like that. We've actually objected to them on numerous occasions that we would prefer not to have that 20 minutes or less on our pages because it isn't a good indicator of how long it really takes. Because if you do have, whether it's a significant amount of assets or individuals that you want to be naming as the beneficiaries of these, it takes more than 20 minutes to be able to do that. Here's just a few things about what's best for you and your family on whether it's a will or a revocable living trust and some of the things. If you want as well, sorry to not preface this beforehand, would like these slides, we can get them to you afterwards if you indicate that on the postcard that you'll be filling out as well. We can email these to you so that you have them or post them in an area where everybody has access. But here's a few things to highlight with a living will or a living trust in a will is that it avoids probate. So if you want to be private, a living trust or revocable living trust is the way to go. Really, only the beneficiaries are aware of what goes on within a living trust. You avoid probate, and you can make plans for incapacity management and what happens as far as while you're living. A will really goes only into effect once you pass away. A few things here as far as like with a will and without a will really is referring to the time that it can take to administer the overall process. With a will, you're probably looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Without a will, you're probably talking at least a year, if not more, and can be even extended upon that as far as all of the work that the probate court has to do to be able to trying to find heirs, trying to notify individuals, getting information from creditors, all of that type of information. And this really comes down to a lot of times too the importance of appointing an executor in the plans that you do have in place. Making sure that that executor knows that they are the executor. It's not an easy task. It is something that takes a little bit of time. So the more prepared that an executor can be, the better off that it is for you and in the overall processing of your estate. But the next slide is a little bit of a question. Can anybody raise their hand or let us know what might be the common theme amongst all of these? Yes, sir.
They didn't have a will.
They didn't have a will. That's exactly right. And when I was doing a little bit of research to be able to talk about or share a little bit of information about some of these individuals, you can see that everyone on there is famous and probably had substantial assets. Jimi Hendrix, the guitar legend, died in 1970. It took more than 30 years for his estate to be processed. Prince passed away. It took 6 years. They actually thought they were going to have it handled in about 2 years or so, but some family members got greedy and released another album, which started to produce income, which then started the entire process over again. So one story that I thought was unique to Las Vegas, so that's why I made sure to put it in here. Has anybody ever bought shoes from Zappos.com? It was purchased by Amazon, but it was probably like the #1 shoe selling website in the US or in the world for a while. Well, an individual by the name of Tony Hsieh started it, and Tony Hsieh unfortunately passed away in a fire in the East Coast a couple of years ago. And he had an $840 million estate with over 100 properties here in the Las Vegas community and in other areas as well, and passed away without a will. Individuals that were trying to put together what his estate plans might have been used Post-it notes from around his house and his different offices that he had to be able to try to get information about what he might have wanted to have happen, because he had nothing else documented. So they were using Post-it notes. Certainly would not advise anyone to do that, but again, having those plans written out is definitely something that you want to do. And another one here to Las Vegas, which is kind of mind-boggling, Howard Hughes had a $2.5 billion estate and passed away without a will. So ultimately, his estate ended up it took 34 years and got divided amongst 200 distant relatives, and then the residual amount formed a foundation that still does phenomenal work here in the Las Vegas community. So some of the things to take a look at as well is what are probate assets, things that have to go through probate, and what are things that are non-probate assets that don't have to go, that can simply be done through the beneficiary designations that we talked about earlier. For freewill.com, here's a little bit more of what you're able to do in addition to just a will or a revocable living trust. You're able to set up a living will, also known as advanced healthcare directive, or a durable financial power of attorney. If you were to become incapacitated, that you have the ability to nominate someone else to make decisions on your behalf in those particular areas. All of those can be done through free will and are really a comprehensive estate plan once you have all of those complementing each other. But to highlight, this is really the basics of what free will is going to ask you. You'll have these boxes similar to like you're filling out credit card information online, but it's your personal information instead. Address information, marital information, information about your children, information about the assets that you have and who you want to receive them. It will ask you if you would like to make a gift to charity. Of course, you can select EAV, but you can fill in any charity that you support. We know that you're passionate about areas within your local community, an animal shelter, a food bank, anything else that it might be, homeless initiatives that are in your community. You can outline all of them there and indicate what you would like for them to receive. So that's what the page looks like when it asks you, and you can click the button, no thanks, or you can click save and continue. That's what the bottom screen looks like for every piece of information that they're asking you for free will. Save and continue, and again, it's something that you can come back to. Don't have to fill it out all or complete it all at once. This is one of the final pages within free will, and for married couples in the room or married couples not in the room when we're providing this information, if they share the same interest and they share the same estate plan, It provides the opportunity to not have to create two wills, essentially doing or doubling the time to be able to do it all. You simply click a button that you want to mirror the will, and it changes the wife's name with the husband's and the husband's name with the wife, and it creates another will automatically right there. You don't have to spend the time to be able to create another one. And then, as I said, a legally binding last will and testament is created. There's a screenshot of mine that I had done as an example to make sure that we, as individuals working on the personal philanthropy programs team, have walked through the process, have done the information as well to be able to understand it as best as possible, to be able to provide you with the best information possible as well. Of course, after you've invested the time to be able to get all of your plans in place, it's important to keep it safe. That's actually one of the prizes that we have for the raffle this afternoon, whether it is a fireproof safe at home or something that we've been introduced to recently is fireproof bags. So you can put information in there. The packet that we'll be giving out has 3 different sizes. It's great for passports. It's important for deeds to houses, all of those different things, and they're easily movable and whatnot, or you can take them if there's an emergency, things like that. And then a little bit to highlight what you have the ability to do within free will when on the platform. Of course, deciding guardianship of minor children, the distribution of your assets, financial accounts, the naming of an executor, your funeral plans. Those that are veterans in the room, you have the ability to indicate in here if you have plans through the National Cemetery Association to be buried at a veteran cemetery, indicating that you can write a personal statement that would be included for your estate plans. You can even make plans for your pets or outline how you would like some of your pets to be taken care of, whether it's an individual that they would be given to. Ideally, they know that ahead of time, so maybe they're not allergic to cats or something like that, or they want to obviously take care of your animal. Create a no contest clause, so that allows anyone that might be contesting the will to be not necessarily penalized or punished if they are basing that on false pretenses or something like that. The other thing that is important to note when you're creating the will is I met with a couple out in Oregon last year, and they had some estranged children that they haven't been in contact with for 30 years. And initially, they wanted to keep them out of their will. They wanted to list that they didn't have children. Actually, the recommendation is to put them in the will or list them in the will and then specifically say that you have left them out on purpose if you are deciding to exclude someone. Even if it's a mutual conversation with your children saying, I understand that I'm going to be out, like putting that in there so that it isn't contested later. Because if there is something that goes on with an executor, if there is something that goes on with an individual that's been identified to be able to assist through probate, the first person that probate is going to go to are the heirs. And so if they specifically you want them to be out of the process, it's good to note it there. And as I turn it over to Alex, I wanted to share as well, this is a ton of information being provided to you. The one thing that we also want to make sure is that we're answering the questions that you came here to get information about. And so at any point, basically for the remainder of the time, if you have something, raise your hand or walk up to the microphone and we'll be able to get that question answered. But we want to make sure that we're talking a little bit about the benefits of stock gifts and mutual funds, the qualified charitable distributions that were discussed from IRA accounts. DAV accepting gifts of real estate can be extremely advantageous. Vehicle donations, we're seeing that increase as well. And then an area that has been extremely exciting for DAV and the DAV Charitable Service Trust over the course of the last couple of years has been charitable gift annuities. And with charitable gift annuities, I'm excited to turn it over to Alex to talk about that and provide a little bit of information about how it's an advantageous gift for you and your family. So, Alex?
Thank you, Jason. So our charitable gift annuity program is if you're the age of 60 or older and you agree to make a gift of $10,000 or more to DAV, we in return will agree to pay you or someone else, if you choose, a fixed amount each year for the rest of your life. The balance is then used for our work to support our mission, and then these gifts can be funded with cash, publicly traded stock, or mutual funds, and qualified charitable distributions from your IRA. This diagram illustrates the CGA process. First, you make a donation of $10,000 or more, and a percentage calculated by your age is distributed back to you for the remainder of your life. If you choose to have a 2-life annuity, which usually is a spouse or a family member, once you pass away, the funds would be transferred to that second annuitant, and then they would receive those payments for their lifetime. And then if you choose to keep the annuity a single life, so just including yourself, once you pass away, the contract for the annuity is closed, and then the remainder is left to DAV for our programs and services. And then here is an example of the charitable gift annuity rates based on different ages. If you're a single life or a 2-life annuity, you will notice that the rates for a 2-life annuity are slightly lower. For example, a single life annuity for the age of 60 is 5.2%, but a 2-life with annuitant 60 and the other is 62, the rate is 4.7%. We do offer deferred charitable gift annuities. The process is almost identical to a regular annuity. Donate now, receive a deduction for that gift now. But you would receive the payments in a later date or after the age of 60. A lot of times people use that if they want to make the donation, use the deduction now, but don't need the funds right away. And then here is an example of a 2-life annuity receiving a 9.7% rate for a $500,000 annuity funded with cash. For this couple, they would receive an annual distribution of about $48,000 for their life. So the first annuitant would receive it for their life entirety, and then it would pass on to the second, and then they would receive it. And then they would receive a $251,000 charitable deduction for the year they made the donation. And if they choose to itemize their taxes, they can spread that deduction out for the next 5-year span. And then if you would like to receive a illustration similar to this one based off your age to get a little bit more information, there's a spot on that card that we handed out that you can mark on there, or grab my card from the back room, or I can go over that with you after the session. And then I can pass it back over to Eddie.
Great, thank you, Alex. Jason's walking around. Make sure that you get one of the cards and fill those out so that we can get you included in the raffle. You don't want to miss out on that. So a couple of last things, just a couple of slides, and then we'll hopefully have some time to open up for a few questions if there are some that those of you might have. Stock giving is another channel or opportunity, and Jason mentioned a lot of things sort of gaining in popularity over several years, but stock giving is one of those that also has some really great tax advantages as well. It's not just for the wealthy. In fact, many wealthy people don't realize the tax benefit that they can receive as well. So for example, well, I should say first, the first thing that you got to consider is that you want to make sure that you give the stock to the charity, that you don't receive the stock personally, because then it would be taxed at those increased rates. But if you're able to do that or would like to do that to a charity or to DAV, that actually helps you avoid all of the capital gains and obviously then achieve a significantly higher gift to the organization. DAV benefits from the full value when the stock is sold because we are a tax-exempt organization, so we also don't have any additional penalties or fees that we have to pay. So this is really a win-win for both the individuals and for DAV. Another really interesting way to kind of think about this is that donors can transfer up to $108,000 per year to DAV or Charitable Service Trust from their IRA without incurring any ordinary taxes. So this helps donors in a lot of ways, and it's become more popular over the past several years because it allows you to meet your required minimal distribution by the age of 72. So those have become really popular. One of the biggest advantages of a QCD is that the rule applies for taxpayer and ultimately helps you lower your adjusted gross income. As I mentioned, you can donate $108,000 per year without incurring any ordinary income tax. Lastly, I believe Jason touched on this as well. We've seen a significant increase over the past few years in the opportunity for people to contribute or donate estates, their homes or different real estate, and including vehicles and things. I know there are a lot of different organizations that are doing some of those. I have some of those jingles locked in my head. We don't have a good jingle at DAV quite yet, but this is an opportunity for you to consider if you have vehicles or other assets like that. A couple of important things to remember about real estate donations is that we can take any type of property, so if that's lands, home, commercial, real estate, in any location across the country, as long as there is some equity in that. Okay, and so if you owe back taxes on that, you have a mortgage balance, there's deferred maintenance, all of that is okay as long as at the end of that process there is some equity opportunity for DAV to realize, then that will allow us to take care of everything for you, right? We'll take care of all of the loans, commissions, closing costs, all of that type of stuff to kind of make that a very simple thing. And as I mentioned, it's become a very popular way for people to give. We receive several real estate gifts each year, so. Vehicle donations is another one that's really easy. You can reach out to DAV, look on our website. There's a toll-free number that we can share with you. Another good way for you to perhaps get rid of some of that and realize some tax savings as well.